Well, I'm just winding up with the weeding process, weeding of this Swiss chard. The weeds are slightly taken over because during the transplant of this Swiss chard, because this Swiss chard is now it's going to 6 weeks from transplant. So during the transplant, I added some goat manure, and with that, the goat manure with it had some weed seeds. So once I incorporated it into the soil, and did the watering, of course, the weed seeds sprouted and they had slightly taken over, but now I've been able to manage that. So you see, I always try to ensure that I keep the field clean. So this is one of the routine activities that we do here at the farm. Weeding is an ongoing process, always ensuring that, and as much as possible, we keep the field free from weeds. And the good thing about that is that you see the weeds, bring about competition of nutrients with the crop that has been planted. Like in this case, the Swiss chard. So you want to get rid of the weeds so they don't compete the nutrients, so that you can end up with a healthy crop. In addition, you see some weeds have pests and diseases, and so to ensure that your crop is healthy, free from disease, you ensure that you try as much as possible to keep the farm weed free, and with that you'll end up with quality product. The vegetables will be looking healthy, quite attractive, and once you hit the market, you'll definitely be able to sell your product. The product will be in high demand, it will be presentable, and you'll be able to fetch a premium. Yeah, one thing that you may notice is that I'm collecting all the weeds that I've gotten from this weeding process. I've put them together and I'm collecting all the weeds. What's the purpose of that? Is I want to use these weeds to make some compost, which now I will later on bring back to the farm, for as organic matter to the soil. So at least you're trying not to. This soil had really been used up, and now I want to bring back the organic matter to the soil so that you can have healthy crops. So what I'll be doing is I'm collecting these weeds. I'm going to pile them up, mix them up with other ingredients, to make some really good rich compost. That now with time, after it has decomposed and then I'll now bring it back to the farm. Well, this is where all the magic will be happening, because this is where now I'll be making my compost, and this now will be the heart of my production here, the vegetable production here. Because now with the weeds I've collected, this is it. Then to make good compost, at least you need like 3 major ingredients. See, you need the greens. In my case here now, what I'm using are the weeds and all the plant waste that I generate here at the farm. You also need the dry matter for the carbon. And now here, what I have some collected some sawdust. Then there are some trees that I trimmed. I'll also be getting those dry leaves. And then on this other end, I have some agitator, which is a chicken manure that I'm going to be using as an agitator. And now with that, the other ingredient that you need again is water and of course air. And with that, I'm going to be layering these different products and turning them over and over. With time, I'll have a very good compost. So this is the heart of the operation. That's where now all this goes. All the weeds, all the plant waste that I generate, nothing goes to waste. Comes here, I make it into good compost, then feed it back to the soil. That's more like it. Everything now looks nice and clean. I've collected all the weeds to use for the compost. Now, although now the other activity that was remaining after the weeding was watering and doing the top dress. Although it looks sunny right now, we've received quite some substantial amount of rain. So at least I'm happy. In terms of watering, at least the crop has received enough of that. So what I'm going now to is to prepare for the top dress. Yes, the rains have really helped at least reduce the pressure, the pressure that I had with the watering, because it was really hot, and then we were experiencing quite some shortages with the water. But at least now with the rains, at least now I can see at least the crop has received enough water. But then again, now with the rains brings about a new challenge, because now like this Swiss chard, they are really susceptible to bacterial and fungal infections, especially when during these rainy and wet conditions. So see, that's a new challenge, because now since transplant, as I said, this crop is going to 6 weeks, and it was purely under irrigation. There was no rains. It was dry during the dry period. It was transplanted during the dry period, and for the entire period since transplant, it has never rained. So it was purely under irrigation. So this is the first time the crop is receiving some rain, and for that period, they've not had any issues with pests and diseases. The crop is quite healthy, and I'm sure with the rains, need to keep this in check now to ensure that the crops are not affected by the fungal infections that come about with the rainy conditions. Keeping these fungal and bacterial diseases at bay is not necessarily a matter of using of chemicals and all that. Again, at times it's even just simple things as how you manage your crop. A good example is like the way I was doing the weeding. I was just simply uprooting the weeds. I was not digging up the soil. Yeah, and if you notice, even with the heavy rains, the crop still remains clean. There's no splash of the soil to the leaves. And if it was the first rain, if after a long period of a dry spell, you still have the crop remains clean, doesn't have any splashes, because now when you get those splashes, see, that's where it encourages the growth of those fungal diseases. The other thing, of course, is the feeding of the soil. See, we've seen I was collecting the weeds to make compost. So what I've done, I've been feeding this soil enough. Every planting period, every planting season, add some more compost or manure, depending on whichever is available. And you see that now changes the soil structure. Yeah, and you notice now this soil, looks it's well draining. Yeah, and it doesn't splash much. It's not being carried away by the water. And another thing I've done is that the crops have been planted on raised beds, so that enhances the drainage of the water. So there's not much water logging. There's no water splash, and with that, there's the crop, the leaves remain clean, and that now keeps the fungal diseases at bay. The other thing I need to do is I'll not be doing is controlling the harvesting. Limiting the number of intervals, harvest intervals. Because now every time you harvest, you see, you open that wound, and then if it rains, when that gets into those open, that's high chances of spread of fungal and bacterial diseases. So when it comes to rainy season, I try to limit, probably maybe I harvest like once every 2 weeks. Yeah. During the dry period, I could even do it every week. But now once the rainy season starts, I limit it to about once every 2 weeks. Limit the number of harvests, ensure that I barely disturb the soil. But of course, also depending on how I'll be doing a proper scouting. Of course, I'll be once in a while be spraying with a fungicide, probably a copper-based one that helps strengthen the cell walls of the crop and be able to manage the crop, be able to keep to not be affected by the fungal diseases. But the key feature is at least some of these things is the management, not necessarily the chemicals. How you plant, you see, like raised beds, the feeding the soil properly with organic matter, and as well as ensuring the crop is healthy. Because once if the crop is healthy, it will be able to fend off some of these pests and diseases. So that's how to go about it. Keep your crops weed free. Sure, as much as possible you keep the field clean, free from weeds. Feed your soil, and then keep your crop healthy. You can complement that with a basal fertilizer as well as a foliar fertilizer. Because now with that healthy crop in clean field, well managed, you're going to have a healthy crop free from pests and diseases, and that will also give you, good yields, good margins, an attractive crop that will sell very, very easily in the market out there. So that's more like it. Thank you so much for watching. Till the next one, happy farming.